All right. Hi, Randall.
Hey, Anthony.
So, Randall, we connected through Jill Connor Brown, a mutual friend, and it's funny because I first met Jill when I was recording a Mac McAnally home concert. Some friends had asked me to do that, so it was one of those kind of favor things. And at the end of the taping and everything, this lady approaches me with a plate of food, and Jill had said, You've been working all night, and I know you didn't get anything to eat. So she brought me a helping plate of food, and was so thoughtful. Didn't know who she was at the time, and since then we've become friends. And then that project that we did, she shared with you,
Yeah.
and so not intimidating at all. Here's a Hollywood director looking at this, but by doing an act of kindness with filming that, and Jill connecting with me with her act of kindness, now we have made connections, little act of kindnesses where you're not expecting anything out of it. You're bringing someone a plate of food and you're making a connection to lead us into areas that we didn't even anticipate going, and meeting new people. I know in your life you had a meeting about whether or not Mel Gibson was going to accept the role for Braveheart, and that meeting, that conversation led to you becoming a director. I know that's a very convoluted question, but you've had a lot of those intersections in your life.
I think it feels like it's a convoluted question because it's so mysterious and hard to get at. And in the end, I think we never understand it. I will say God's plan is better than my plan. I could have never foreseen the consequences. And that's part of what faith is about. I realized the other day I pray in the mornings and I pray in the evenings, and I will generally pray throughout the day, but more taking moments to be grateful for food and friends. But when I'm really reflecting, I will tend to try to think about what was important. And it always strikes me that I seldom know what's important. During a summer internship I had between college and the year I spent in seminary, I worked at a Methodist church in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And the pastor of that church was a man named Ernest Fitzgerald. He was an amazing guy. And in one of his sermons, he said, "We have good days and we have bad days, and we seldom know at the time which was which."
Wow.
And that is powerful. We never know what the little things are going to be. It's striking as you tell that story. Jill sent me the footage of the Mac McAnally thing, and my impression was, holy mackerel, this is incredible. This must have cost a fortune. And she went, "That's this local guy, and he's a genius." And that's Jill's your best press agent, by the way.
It sounds like and Jill is great. New York Times best-selling author, sweet potato queen, just a wonderful person. It's hard not to succeed when you have somebody like that rooting for you. Really.
Well, yeah, but she doesn't say things lightly, and she has an immediate eye for what she loves and for what works. And I think there's something in that about how preparation meets opportunity. My sons and I were talking about this recently, that you put pieces on the chessboard, you maneuver around when I've gotten into watching Magnus Carlsen videos recently. I don't play chess very much, but I can appreciate somebody who's truly gifted, and he's beyond truly gifted. But they're playing positions, and they don't necessarily see all of the permutations that are going to happen, but they know that it's stronger to be here than to be there. So we make our choices, our strategic choices of, this might be a good idea, this might be a good school to choose, or I can't really explain why I want to go here instead of go there, or write this instead of write that. but you have to step forward into the mystery of all of that. And what matters, I think, is whether you're open to the idea that it can always be better, and you're also aware that things could go wrong, and I really need to prepare. Yeah.
That's good stuff. And you mentioned your sons, and getting to know you has been a treat, and already as believers we're already brothers. So in making these connections, it's easy because we already have a shared history.
Right.
But not only that, you were born in Tennessee, your family from Lizard Lick, and you spent time in Memphis and then in Virginia, Lynchburg. And so being a Southern boy and raising your sons, and I know you raised them to say yes, sir, and no, sir, and that sort of thing, even when maybe in California and places that's not the cool thing to do, but you have a certain connection with your family that's so inspiring to us. And as we do a lot of family business and family studio, and our kids, not just for free labor, but they're good at what they do, and we like working with them. But you working with your sons, it is inspiring to us. So talk to me about why that is so important to you.
So I have a kind of metaphor, way of seeing things, that what gives a place its character, and certainly what gives a human being their identity, is what they hold sacred, what they consider God, what they treat as God. And in a real brutal kind of shorthand, I would say that in New York City, money is God. It doesn't matter if you got your money in the most despicable way. You're Jeffrey Epstein or someone, but you have a ton of money, then you're treated as special, because money is God. You're treated as closest to God. In Los Angeles, it's celebrity is God. You could have gotten your celebrity in the most despicable way, but you're a celebrity, and people worship that. Now, the South, I'm not saying it's better, but in the South, honor and pride, your family honor. When I was a boy, my father, who was a traveling salesman, came in and told us that he had seen a guy named Elvis sing, I think he was like opening a supermarket or something, for $50 with his band. And my father had an eye, and he said, this guy's got something. And in a very short time, Elvis was really big. And the story went around Memphis that Elvis, when he made his first money, got into his pickup truck and drove around Memphis and paid off all of his father's bad debts. Wow. And that story told us that Elvis was ours. He was a man's man. He lived by his code. And there's nothing more important to me than family. And it's not just me giving to them, it's I draw from them.
Absolutely.
There are people who tell me as it is, and then there's no substitute for that. And I also think that it gives life a certain fragrance, a certain beauty when, for example, my youngest son won't ever meet my father in the flesh, or my mother. They were gone before he was born. He will know them through the stories that we tell him. He'll know them through his brothers, and that was true with my father and his father, and my grandfathers were both gone before I was born, but I got to know them because of those stories that they shared with me, and they remain tangible in my life. When my father passed away, and my mother, some years later, they did not leave me. And I don't even mean in a metaphysical sense. I mean, they're present. You find yourself looking at your children when they're about to go off to college or something like that is happening, and you go, ah, that's what that look on my father's face was about, that I didn't understand when I first saw it, but now I understand it. And then it's like, oh, okay, I got it.